Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk coming at you on a Thursday as the hottest team in baseball wraps up a sweep. How about wins in 15 of 17 for the boys in blue? It's only happened 4 other times a stretch of baseball this good in club history. 15-2 in the last 17, a 10-0 thrashing of the White Sox on getaway day that you just heard here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. We are live on 580WIBW.com. We are streaming on video on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. We are with you until 6 o'clock here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Wierzinski rocking with you. We are going to talk some Royals. Again, no, it's the White Sox. They are stinky butt. They are so bad. I know their record is slightly better than last year. I don't know how they're going to win a whole lot more than 50 games. They are miserable.
They just don't have any discernible talent. Like there's no one there. You're like, oh yeah, well at least that guy's good. Like Luis Robert has been that, but he hasn't even been good this year.
And he's going to be wearing a different uniform by July.
Oh,
like somebody's going to trade for him. So
Royals.
Listen,
get ready to learn Gavin Cross, Southside.
You saw that play he made in center field, diving backhanded catch in this game.
That was sick.
He'd look really nice patrolling center field at the K full time. He really, really would. But
move Isbell to right.
Move Isbell to the bench, man.
Well, also possible.
Yeah, that's what you do. You get a center fielder like that. 10-0 the final score after a 2-1 win last night. The Royals complete the 4-game sweep and improved their record overall to 23-16, the same record they had after 49 games last season. So the Royals, after that bumpy start, not only are they back on track, they are playing as good of baseball as they have ever played in franchise history over a 2.5-week stretch. Now they just got to make up some ground. They're game and a half out of first place for about 10 more minutes or however long it takes for the Tigers to get 3 more outs in Colorado. So they're going to win game 1 of that doubleheader. They're up 10-1 in the 9th. They have a night game, which they will also win. And then they'll be 25-13. So that'll move them 2.5 games ahead of the Royals. So the Royals actually lose ground today because Detroit will sweep the doubleheader against the Rockies.
I sure hope so. I doubled down on parlaying against the Rockies today. They're playing a real ball doubleheader. Traditional. Don't give me the split doubleheader.
Yep.
Play them back to back.
Yep. 30 minutes. Get warmed up. Have your mom bring you a juice box and a turkey sandwich from the car.
I'm sure someone's got a Capri Sun there. Let's go.
Yeah. You get a quick throw in, get a quick jog in, and you're ready to rock. Yeah, exactly. So the Royals will lose ground. I guess that's the bad news. Barring something wholly unexpected, which would be the Rockies winning a baseball game later tonight. But all you can do is beat who's in front of you. And although the Royals have not played the stiffest schedule over the last 17 games, 15-2 is lights out baseball, regardless of who's on the schedule. So we'll react to what we saw today, what we saw last night. Some thoughts on where the Royals stand with Boston coming to town for a 3-game series starting tomorrow night. We've also got some chatter about college football. ESPN has put out their post-spring top 25. 5 Big 12 teams on the top 25, including K-State. Where does Mark Schlabach rank the Cats? Too high, too low? Seems a little bullish on the Big 12. We'll get into that later on in the program as well. We will also, it is a shortened version of the show today, obviously, but we'll still make time for all the things you've come to know and love from a Thursday edition of the show. 580 Sports Talk headlines, including a playoff roundup in which the theme is bozos. Teams that are bozos, teams that are not bozos, teams that have historically been bozos but maybe are no longer bozos, and 2 teams that sure look like bozos for trading who is right now the best player in the NHL playoffs in the same season.
You will not be here for the final hour of the show today, so vibe check after last night's Nuggets game. How you doing?
I'm fine. I went to bed at halftime. That was whatever.
Figured there was going to be one loss and probably an ugly one in the first two. Just came in reverse order for what you thought. So
yeah,
you're kind of where you thought you'd be.
Yeah, 1-1 going back to Denver. We got home court advantage. Rest of it's not fun to watch your team lose by 500 million points, but
there's no aggregate scoring.
No, there's not. A loss is a loss is a loss. And it was very clear that the Nuggets, about 8 minutes into that game, packed it in and let the Thunder have their fun at home. So, no, big old whatever to that one from me. Not real bothered by it. But, yeah, bozos are the theme because the Thunder are not bozos. That was very obvious because if they were bozos, they would have built that big lead and then tricked it off like a certain bozo-laden team in green did in the Eastern Conference NBA playoffs last night. They are all bozos, and their coach is a bozo. We're gonna talk about bozos in the playoff roundup. We'll also have a round of what is wrong with you this hour. We'll play a game of either or over under as well. That is all coming up on the program today. We want to hear from you. Text us 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429. You can also hit us up in the live chat if you are watching on YouTube today. Again, the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Subscribers up to 740. So we're getting close to that 750 number, at which point surely the Royals will have no choice but to let us run the hot dog derby.
Fact. Correct.
And we will we're getting close. So subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. But if you are watching live on YouTube, jump into that live chat on the web browser or your mobile device. We'd love to hear from you. Good afternoon to Vance, Paul, Jason, and everyone else who will join us today. Royals 10, White Sox nada. That is 6 shutouts in the last 13 games for the Royals. Chris Bubich with the first 7 innings of work, allowing just 6 hits and a walk in those 7 frames and punching out 7. Also getting 3 double plays behind him, including one that he started to wriggle off the hook in the 5th when the White Sox had the first 2 runners of that inning aboard with nobody out. It is, for the Royals, the second straight day in which they have had a 7-inning, no runs allowed start. That's the trick Michael Wacha pulled last night. It is the 19th quality start in 39 games for the Royals. For those uninitiated, quality start, 6 or more innings, 3 or fewer earned runs allowed. It's not a perfect metric, but it still means something to lead baseball in the number, which is what the Royals do now after Bubich's effort today. 19 quality starts in 39 games for the boys in blue. They have the best record in the American League, or rather the best ERA in the American League. That ERA went down today. The rotations ERA this season, starting pitcher ERA for the Royals, is 2.93. And now the Royals have won 15 of their last 17 games. The other 4 seasons in which the Royals had a 17-game stretch that was this successful: 1977 when they won the division, 1978 when they won the division, 1989 when they did not win the division but won 92 games, and 2013 when they won 86 games. Good teams have stretches like this. And after the early wobble, we have now seen that the Royals are back to doing the things that we, thought they were going to have to do to be successful this year, which was get outstanding starting pitching. Everything starts from there with the Royals, and this streak has started from there with the Royals. And number 2, they are taking care of business against the bad teams on the schedule. They played at, I believe it was a 105-win pace against the 6 worst teams in baseball last year. And they have 7 wins in 7 in this stretch against the 2 worst teams in baseball, the Rockies and the White Sox. Not messing around, finding ways to win, or, as was the case Tuesday night, just being in the vicinity when the other team burps the game up. All of these things, hallmarks of good baseball teams, and oh yeah, the bats are starting to come along as well. David Lesky, friend of the program, had the numbers on Blue Sky, so I'm trying to dig those up. But over this stretch, since coming off that road trip, so excluding the first game of this 17-game stretch, that Sunday win over Detroit, in the last 16 games, the Royals as a team are hitting .294 with a .341 on base and a .457 slugging percentage. That will play. They scored 10 runs today without the benefit of a long ball. That will play. Everything coming together, and it's looking really strong right now for the boys in blue.
I did not know this stat or the Royals ranking in this stat until a little bit earlier this afternoon. Do you know where the Royals rank in Major League Baseball in terms of whiff percentage? How often they swing and miss? How often
The Royals?
When they take the bat off their shoulder and swing, how often they swing and miss?
I figure pretty low. They don't have a lot of guys who strike out a ton.
No,
so I would think they'd be in the bottom 10 in the league.
They have the lowest whiff rate in all of baseball, the fewest swings and misses on a per pitch basis of anybody in the majors. And you would think, oh, maybe they're really good at not chasing after pitches. They're actually right in the middle of Major League Baseball in terms of swinging at pitches outside the zone. And there's a lot of noise with that. It's a matter of how many breaking balls you face, game situation, all that. But they're kind of right in the middle. But even when they swing at balls outside the zone, they make decent contact with it, or at least put the ball in play or foul it off or whatever. They don't just swing and miss darn near ever, which is a really impressive thing for a Royals team that, again, we know they're a lot different than they were 3 years ago, but look at where the team was 3 years ago and look at where they are now. That part of the approach, combined with the fact that they hit the ball really hard, they're 11th in baseball in terms of average exit velocity. They do hit the ball hard. When you've got guys like Witt and Salvi when he's on and Maikel Garcia and all that, that's to be expected. It's a much more professional approach than, frankly, we're used to still with the Royals. I mean, I think you ask any given Royals fan, and you guys can tell me this, but you still think of this team as, they don't walk, they strike out a bunch, right? Like, that's kind of what you think.
They're never going to be a team that draws a lot of walks. It's just the organizational history of the Royals. They've never been a team that draws a lot of walks.
But even if you're not going to draw walks, you can still be smart and you can still make contact. You can still have a professional or more professional approach when you get in the box and when you get up to the plate. And I think that's what the Royals are showing here. These are all numbers that have improved over the last couple of games as well. I mean, more than a couple games now. Like you said, it's 15 wins in the last 17. Matt Derrick, our buddy who we'll have on the show tomorrow at 3:35, posted on Twitter a little bit earlier. The Royals are now 10-2 since the Chiefs drafted Jalen Royals. So it really worked out perfectly there. But on a serious note, I think it is kind of getting, coaches love to say this, locked in at the plate a little bit more, has paid massive dividends for this team. And look at the guys who have been helped the most by this. Maikel Garcia is crushing the ball right now.
Big 2-run triple today in the 5th inning, broke the game open.
And had another hit a little bit later on as well.
One of 7 Royals, by the way, to have multi-hit games today.
Vinny Pasquantino. We pretty much had dump on Vinny week a while back because he just wasn't doing anything productive at the plate. And now you factor in he got on base again today. He's gotten the batting average up to 216, which is not great, but it's on its way up. Had another hit today, had 2 in each of the prior 2 games. In fact, he has had multiple hit games in 3 of the 4 games before today, in which, again, he got on base again.
Yeah, it's 3 straight multi-hit games, in fact. He's hitting 345 over his last 7 games, 10 for his last 29, and he's slugging 484 over his last 15 games. So definitely beginning to trend back in the right direction.
And again, I would use, this isn't the most analytical term in the world, but I would call that being locked in. Like, okay, something wasn't working. Let's refocus. Let's readjust. And it is paying major dividends right now. And
you know who else?
You're right. He went 2 for 5 today.
Yeah. You know who else is going good of late? Jonathan India. He also had a multi-hit game today. 2 for 4, 3 runs scored because he also drew a walk, hitting 310 with a 394 on base in his last 7 games. 259 over his last 15 games, but a 353 on base in that stretch, and his on-base percentage for the year up to 340 with his efforts today. That is why he's here, to be that guy who gets on base and drives some rallies, and he did that today. Bobby Witt Jr., what more can you say about him? 4 for 5, 2 doubles, 2 runs, 2 RBI, 2 stolen bases. Another terrific game for Bobby Witt Jr., whose average is up to 325.
OPS is up over 920.
Yep, he's now ahead of Maikel Garcia in OPS, although Maikel is still out hitting him, 326 to 325. Michael Massey had 2 hits today. Drew Waters keeps hitting the ball, 2 hits for him today.
We were talking the other day about batting average, and for forever it was, hit 300 and that's good. But as the game has progressed and as fans have gotten smarter and have learned more about it. We have more stats to evaluate players and stuff. I'm not one of the people who thinks batting average is worthless, but I think it's a tool. And for some players, it's more useful than others. I think for a guy like Drew Waters, it's actually a very useful tool. And you see a little bit of pop from him, and that's fine. If Drew Waters is going to get a hit 28.6% of the time, 286 average right now, I mean, I would call that a gigantic win. That is massive to me for a guy like that who is going to play a corner outfield spot, is going to have an above average glove out there, and is not going to crush the ball. Like he's not a corner outfielder who's going to hit 30 home runs. So you have to look at other things. Can he get on base? Can he draw walks? Can he get hit by pitches? Some guys, it acts like feels like a skill for some guys. Or can he just hit? Can he make contact enough that he's going to get on base and give you plenty of chances for runs or driving a few himself? And the answer is yes. I think a player like that, batting average means a lot. And if you see Drew Waters, who's batting 8th in the lineup, going 286 in that column, you feel great. You feel incredible about that.
And do you know what else he continues to not do as often as he was doing it in his career?
Strike out.
0
again today.
Yeah, he's down to a quarter of his at-bats, so less than a quarter of his plate appearances now, which he was up like at 38% his first couple of weeks. So starting to make more contact, starting to get good results with that contact as well. There's lots of goodies. It's a lot to like in today's box score. Man, even Chris Stratton worked a perfect inning with 2 strikeouts. That's the kind of day it was for the Royals. That's the kind of team the White Sox are also, to be
absolutely horrendous.
You go 1-2-3 with 2 punchies against Chris Stratton, it might be time to reevaluate some life choices. I'm sure Will Venable, look, there are only 30 manager jobs, but maybe Will Venable would have wished he had held out for another one. By the way, it is a final in Denver, Detroit 10, Colorado 2. So even Steven,
2 runs.
Yeah. The firing the hitting coach 2 weeks ago, really paying off. So the division deficit is still 2 games for Kansas City. Again, Detroit's got 1 more with the worst team in baseball tonight. Probably will be 2.5 again by the end of the night. But look, gotta keep pace. This is what they had to do last year when Cleveland got out to the hot start. You have to keep pace. And that's what the Royals have done, taking care of business with a sweep. You've already had a good homestand. You have to, and it's hard because we're on the air every single day. So we're reacting to every single game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a thing that, as a general rule, you have to try not to do in a 162-game season, right? It's not football.
It's hard.
It's hard from our perspective, most especially, because we do have to react in some way to everything that we see. But take parts of the season and look more in the macro than the micro. This is a 7-game homestand. The Royals already have 4 wins with 3 games to play. It's a winning homestand. They're 15-5 at the K this year, by the way. Really impressive stuff. They get swept this weekend. They win a 4-3 homestand, and that's a good homestand. Obviously, we'd have some conversations about the momentum going the wrong way, and Boston's certainly a much more legitimate opponent than Chicago is, but it's still a good homestand. You've already had a good homestand. You go get 1 this weekend, you've had a great homestand, a 5-2 homestand. You go and get a series. Go get greedy and get a series. You had an awesome homestand. That's where the Royals find themselves because they took care of business against the White Sox.
This probably isn't necessary to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Every starter for the Royals had a hit except 1. In fact, 7 of the 9 starters had multiple hits. Freddie Fermin had 1. He went 1 for 4. 1 starter did not have a hit today. He went 0 for 4. You'll never believe it. It was Hunter Renfroe. The way the Royals are playing right now offensively, I think you can live with 1 change. Like center field, if you went out there right now with a lineup of, okay, well, let's just do the one today. Waters in center, India in left, Witt at short, Vinny first, Salvi DHing, Garcia can play a couple different places. Massey had 2 hits. That was big for him. Put him at second base. Fermin catching. Like, I can live with that. I know you don't love India in left field. Okay, you move things around. Maybe you sit Massey. You can bring India in. You move Waters to left. Isbell back in center. Fine. You need 1 bat. You need 1 spot. If the Royals can figure out right field, and look, it doesn't need to be Luis Robert. It doesn't need to be an all-star. It'd be great if it was. You just need a league average bat in right field. a guy's going to OPS somewhere between like 95 and 110. OPS plus, I should say. This you feel a lot better. That suddenly, for a small market team, feels like a pretty formidable group, especially when you consider the back end of the bullpen as well as what the starting rotation is giving you.
We'll take our first time out here on 580 Sports Talk in this shortened first hour of 2 that we have with you today on the program. On the other side of this timeout, we got a round of What Is Wrong With You here on 580 WIBW. It is time for What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. It is brought to you by our guy, Mo, State Farm Agent Ryan, Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. Royals got Big Mo right now. You want to get Big Mo to help you with your insurance and financial service needs? Give him a call, 785-273-1572. 2 new stories today trying to take down the cool mom, the Texas mother who brought Jell-O shots to a 5th grade classroom party, got everybody turned, which was bad because, again, they were 5th graders.
I was going to say, when is it bad when everyone's all turned? Sounds fun. Oh, wait a minute. When kids with bedtime.
When they're 10 and they do not immediately recognize the word Smirnoff or the flavor of it in the Jell-O shots that she bought off of Facebook. 2 new stories today. Brandon, how about you go first?
All right, we are headed down to Florida. You ever ding-dong ditch anyone?
No, I did not.
Really? Oh, man, I did that. I did that before. Have you ever been ding-dong ditched?
Also has not happened.
Really? Wow.
Somebody tried to play a prank on me in a hotel room one time.
Oh.
Like I got knock ditched in a hotel room.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll count it. We'll count that one. Well, a man is facing aggravated assault charges in Florida after allegedly pointing a firearm at a car full of teens who ding-dong ditched him. According to the Margate Police Department report, officers responded to a call back on May 3rd after a victim reported being followed by a vehicle that had pointed a gun at them as they drove westbound on Atlantic Boulevard by a middle school. Dispatchers from Broward Sheriff's Office advised officers that the suspect's vehicle had made a U-turn and was now heading eastbound. An officer stationed near Atlantic Boulevard and a state highway spotted the car matching the description and conducted a high-risk traffic stop. 2 individuals were in the Infiniti at the time of the stop, including a man later identified as 45-year-old Elmer Ramirez of Tamarack, who was seated in the front passenger seat. They don't make a lot of Elmers anymore.
No.
Not a lot of Elmers running around. According to the arrest, Ramirez allegedly admitted to pointing his handgun at the victims, but claimed he had only intended to get them to stop, not cause them harm, and also claimed that the firearm was not chambered. Yeah, that everybody who gets caught with a gun in that position always says, oh, well, it's not loaded.
Yeah.
Everybody. Ramirez reportedly explained he and his friend had set out in pursuit after the friend claimed someone was attempting to steal his vehicle. However, further investigation revealed the teens had merely knocked on the man's door in a game of ding-dong ditch. No theft or attempted entry was reported. The teens also captured the encounter on video. Yeah, that's teens. They've always got their phones on them.
Yeah, they're trying to get on TikTok.
In the footage, the white Infiniti is seen cutting in front of their vehicle, and a passenger can be seen holding a dark object believed to be the firearm. The victim's vehicle was occupied by 5 individuals, 4 of whom stated they wished to press charges, resulting in 4 separate assault with a deadly weapon charges against Ramirez. Uh-oh.
So here's the thing about the ding-dong ditch. You better know you got the right one. Like, You don't want to ding-dong ditch the wrong one. This is what happens when you ding-dong ditch the wrong one. But also, don't do the gun thing here. Just, you run up on them, you scare them a little bit. Like, I don't think that's a problem. You need to administer some rough justice with some fisticuffs.
Yeah, you go outside, you yell, you scream, whatever.
Yeah.
You get the plate, you call the cops.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't do that. But that's better than pulling the gun on some kids.
Yes, don't pull a gun on children. Don't pull a gun on teenagers. Don't do that.
Little extreme.
My story today, a fan has filed a lawsuit against the National Football League over Shedeur Sanders' slide in the NFL draft. He seeks $100 million in punitive damages for what he called the impact of the NFL's actions on his emotional well-being.
I think Mel Kiper is a coward for not putting his name on there.
Right. The complaint has been filed in Georgia federal court by a plaintiff under the pseudonym John Doe. The self-described dedicated fan of Colorado football alleged that reports and leaked statements about Sanders negatively influenced the league's decision-making process, causing emotional distress and trauma to the plaintiff as a fan and consumer. Despite Sanders' demonstrated skills and significant attention during the 2023 and 2024 seasons, the NFL drafted him at the 144th pick during the draft, says the complaint. Doe alleged violations of antitrust, civil rights, intentional infliction of emotional distress and trauma, and consumer protection laws. On top of the 9-figure monetary damages, the suit seeks a formal acknowledgement from the NFL regarding the emotional distress caused by their actions and statements, a retraction of the slanderous statements made about Shedeur Sanders, along with an apology for any harm caused to his reputation, and implementation of fairer practices in the drafting process to ensure that talented players are recognized and given opportunities based on merit.
I'm going to take a shot in the dark here and say this dude is a degenerate gambler.
Potentially.
Put $1,000 on Shedeur to go top 5.
What?
Okay. Top 10. Well, it's got to be top 20.
First round.
Day 2. Just losing his shirt. Live betting. Just feeding money to DraftKings. Live betting the draft.
The first clue that things might not be on the level is devoted Colorado football fan living in Georgia. No, you're not.
Gambler.
Second sign that things may not be on the level. Doe filed the lawsuit under what is called informa pauperis, which is when someone says they can't afford the filing fees. So when that happens, one of the things that the court looks at is whether the suit is frivolous. I think this one qualifies as frivolous. It's looking for $100 million. Look, I have a buddy who went to see you, a big Colorado football fan, and he was disappointed and surprised to see that Shedeur Sanders was not drafted until the 5th round. He was really, really surprised that happened and disappointed for a guy that he had rooted for, although there was some talk about, nobody ever said anything negative about him coming out of Colorado. Yeah, you think? Like,
because Deion owns the program.
Who controls the flow of information out of the Colorado locker room? I have some news about their relationship with Shedeur Sanders. But even with that, like, I understand. Like, if Shador's your guy for whatever reason, you are a CU alum or fan, or like I don't know, you've streamed video games of his on Twitch with Travis Hunter or whatever. You had money on him to be drafted high. Like, there are many reasons that you can be disappointed that somebody wasn't drafted as high, but $100 million for emotional distress and the request that and apologize to that young man.
Yeah, there's two potential outcomes here. This is either Mel Kiper or it's a problem gambler. Like, there's no other way this could be, or it's a troll. In which case, why did you waste your time with this?
So there is, I wonder if he's still around, still in the game. If you're familiar with the name Jonathan Lee Riches, have you ever heard that name before?
No, but it's a great name.
Yeah, you probably have. He is a convicted fraudster. That is according to Wikipedia. Known for the many lawsuits he has filed in various United States district courts. He has filed over 2,600 lawsuits in federal district courts across the country since 2006. Among the more famous defendants of his lawsuits include Bill Belichick, George W. Bush, Martha Stewart, Jeff Gordon, Michael Vick, Steve Jobs, Perez Hilton, Somali Pirates, and Britney Spears.
Oh, sure.
So, yeah, this is a thing that he just does, is make frivolous lawsuits. And I have a feeling that if this guy's still in the league, which it appears that he is, because he's out of prison, he had been incarcerated, but got out in 2012. This has this guy written all over it.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
So we're probably going to find out. This guy was given an award by the Guinness Book of World Records, listing him as the most litigious individual in history. He then sued the Guinness Book of World Records.
Nice.
So
married to the game.
Yeah. The vast majority of his filings have been dismissed. I bet it's him. I would bet anything it's him.
I would not be surprised one bit.
Yeah. So
it could be Kiper, though.
So, yeah, very well could. So we have a lawsuit over Shador Sanders' draft slot, and we have a guy who pulled a gun on some teenagers. Who wins today?
With the idea that it might be someone who just like gets off on fake lawsuits, I'm going to go with who our guy Vance called the ding dong dumbass. I'm going to go with that one today, but nothing's going to take down. I'll call my shot a day early. I don't think anything can take down Cool Mom.
Yeah,
because every detail in and of itself is a what is wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you thought Jell-O shots didn't have alcohol in them. Were you born yesterday? You served them to 10 to 11-year-olds. You bought them on Facebook.
You thought that was an appropriate thing to bring to a classroom party, even if they didn't have alcohol in them.
Crazy. No, I'm going to be real with you. Right or wrong, what school in 2025 would be accepting of anything called a shot? None.
No.
None anywhere.
No.
Also, do not buy consumables on Facebook, guys. Please.
The Cool Mom, moving on to tomorrow on What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by Mo. State Farm Agent Ryan, Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. We'll take a break. Come back with a round of either or over under to wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Before we get around of either or over under on today, couple of notes. First of all, happy birthday to us. Not me, not Brendan, not 580 Sports Talk, at least not to my knowledge. 98 years ago today, WIBW Radio went on the air.
At the Jayhawk Theater, which itself was only a year old at the time. The station was portable at that point.
Yeah,
you literally could move it around. You get carted all over the place.
It was the only radio station in Topeka for the first 20-odd years of its existence and is 98 years old today. Do you know what else happened in May of 1927? Charles Lindbergh's flight began and production of the Model T ended.
Fun fact, there was a duo, I looked this up today, in France, in Paris, that tried to make the first Paris to New York flight. On this exact day, they disappeared over Newfoundland and were never found.
Yep.
Charles Lindbergh would later go on to actually do it.
There is a book, I believe it was written by Bill Bryson, and it is about the summer of 1927. And it's a really, really fun historical read. And I do remember reading about Lindbergh obviously plays a big role because that was the story.
Mm-hmm.
That and Babe Ruth hitting 60 home runs. Yeah. And maybe Sacco and Vanzetti, I think, was also 1927. Wow. So, yeah, a lot going on that year. But, that was 12 days away. He took off May 20th.
Unbelievable.
1927. Before that, there was a WIBW radio.
Yeah, I believe we're either the oldest or the second oldest station in the state of Kansas. And for those of you, FCC heads out there, the K or W that starts the call letters of a radio station, our station is so old that rule didn't apply.
Right. That's why we have the W.
Just pick one.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we have the W. Other programming note, we do want to share this. Obviously, the Advent Health 400 is coming up to Kansas Speedway on Sunday. We have teased trying to work and get a NASCAR driver from the Cup Series on with us tomorrow. We do have that hammered out. We thought we maybe had it earlier this week, had to move it, but we will be joined. You will hear tomorrow on the show our conversation with Ross Chastain of the NASCAR Cup Series, driver of the number one Trackhouse Racing Chevrolet, and winner at last year's Hollywood Casino 400. So he's trying to go back-to-back at Kansas.
Yeah, that's awesome. He, of course, made major waves a couple of years ago with an insane maneuver that has since been banned, I believe, by NASCAR.
The Hail Melon.
Yeah, riding the wall full speed to get a win. Super dangerous, but it worked.
Yeah.
So no, this is that's going to be a lot of fun to have him on tomorrow.
Yeah, look forward to having Ross Chastain bringing you that conversation on tomorrow's show for you NASCAR fans out there, and look forward to bringing you that conversation. All right, let's play.
Real quick, while we're talking history here, Vance brings this up on the YouTube feed, and he's right. It's VE Day.
Yes, it is.
May 8th, 1945, Victory in Europe Day in World War II.
That is right.
My birthday is VJ Day.
If you want to commemorate that, perhaps do not use a picture from Iwo Jima when commemorating it.
Yes, that'll be September 2nd.
Yes,
well, Iwo Jima was not, but the Victory in Japan Day, September 2nd.
Yeah, different day.
You can bring me a gift to celebrate it.
Different thing altogether. All right, real quick, either or over under 1.5 wins for the Royals over the Red Sox this weekend.
Over. They get 2.
I think they can keep it rolling.
They're playing really well, man.
Red Sox have struggled 6 and 8 in their last 6 and 14 in their last 20, I believe.
Yeah, so it feels repeatable.
Yes, like what they're doing, and it's all starting pitching. It's all starting pitching right now. Just passing the baton.
Yeah, no, they've been fantastic. Mine today is an either or. So last night we talked about it on yesterday's show. My favorite band in the whole world, Metallica, played a show at Lane Stadium at Virginia Tech yesterday. I cannot get enough of the videos of it. It is absolutely incredible. What a cool scene for anyone there. So either or. You're not a big live music guy, Dan, but where would you rather see a concert? At Bill Snyder Family Stadium or inside Allen Fieldhouse?
I don't know how good the acoustics are at Allen Fieldhouse.
They have been improved with recent renovations. I can tell you that.
So I guess that would be my hesitation on that. Bill Snyder Family Stadium would be fun, like open air. Performing. I would assume on the you'd have to put the stage maybe on the Veneer Complex end.
They can do it like Metallica and do it in the round.
Yeah, they could do that as well. That's more of a common thing, I suppose, at those big stadium shows now anyway. That'd be cool. Bigger crowd. would be more fun. I do like the intimate settings. Like I saw my favorite band ever, Queens of the Stone Age, at a small club in Omaha. That was super cool. So like, I like the more intimate settings typically, but no, under the Kansas sky at Bill Snyder Family Stadium, get my vote.
I think for me, it depends on the act. Like Metallica, yeah, put them in a big stadium. Like, yeah, that's
sure.
how it should be. But for other bands, I saw Queens of the Stone Age a couple years ago. They played at Starlight in Kansas City, like a little bit smaller, but still kind of big. Like that works. If I was going to see like a hip hop show, I'd rather see that at Allen Fieldhouse.
No, that makes
a little
sense.
more intimate.
You saw Snoop Dogg at Allen Fieldhouse.
That's true. I will remember it forever.
Headlines, more Royals talk, little college football. Brendan's got you the rest of the way. I'm out for now. One more hour, 580 Sports Talk.
now, it's the final hour of 580 Sports Talk, a shortened edition of the show today. I'm Brendan Dworzinski, flying solo with you on the program up until 6 o'clock tonight. Dan Lucero is out the rest of the day. Spencer Dupuis also out today. We'll have the whole gang back tomorrow for a full show from 3 until 6. Plenty to get to tomorrow. We'll have a lot of Royals baseball to get to, plenty of NFL as well. Matt Derrick will join us for our Chiefs Insider, that and much more tomorrow on the show. But we've got 1 hour left today and plenty to get to. That includes a busy day of 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up here in just a matter of moments. We'll also get to some college football. We're working on getting some college football guest action on the show next week. But Mark Schlabach of ESPN put together his way too early top 25 for the college football season now with the spring portal wrapping up. Not completely done with that part of the offseason, but wrapping up more and more. Spring practice is done around the country. Who made it into his top 25? 5 Big 12 teams. Does that include either of the 2 programs from the Sunflower State? We'll tell you about that coming up here in about 20 to 25 minutes. We'll also get some final thoughts on the Royals' win today and sweep over the Chicago White Sox. A profitable sweep, by the way, if you've been following along with the Rocks Sox parlay, which I've been joking about on the show. But it's actually working out. It's just betting on whoever plays against the White Sox and Rockies every day. And unsurprisingly, the 2 worst teams in baseball have lost a whole lot pretty regularly. So we'll get some final thoughts on today's big-time Royals win 10-0 over the Chicago White Sox. We also want to hear from you, both on the text line, 785-272-9429, or you can find us on YouTube as well. Head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. We will be the first result there. You can subscribe to the channel. That's the best way to know whenever we go live, whenever we've got big events, any new videos getting posted, all of that. And you can also drop us a line, leave a comment, chat with us during the show. The live chat function is going throughout the duration of the program today. All right, let's get to it. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines, plenty to get to. I am, A, going to tread a little bit lightly here, but B, going to start with something that I think is fun, at least for me. The Pope, we heard we have a new Pope. Well, I'm not going to say we. I'm personally not Catholic, but there is a new Pope for members of the Catholic Church, and he's an American, and he's a Chicagoan. He's just like me, although he was actually born in the city. I'm from the suburbs. But an actual American Chicago Pope, and the debate of choice, the debate du jour on social media, at least in the circles I run in, is he a bigger Cubs fan or White Sox fan? Is he a fan of either? And initial reports indicated Cubs. His brother, I'm not kidding about this, his brother has done an interview. He has been talked to by news outlets today and said, no, my brother, the new Pope Leo XIV, never been a Cubs fan. So you can assume if he's rooting for a baseball team, he's rooting for the Chicago White Sox. Not a great day for him today, however, because, again, the White Sox got smacked by the Royals 10-0. There's probably a joke to be made there. I'll let you come to your own conclusions. We also know that Pope Leo went to Villanova, and somebody found his Twitter account under his birth name, Robert Prevost, from April of 2016. He retweeted something that said, with the buzzer beater win over North Carolina, Augustinian-run Villanova becomes the first Catholic NCAA champ since the Villanova first championship back in 1985. So we know he at least supports his alma mater on the basketball court. I don't know if he's watching, Thursday night Big East hoops, Wednesday night Big East hoops on FS1, but he at least supports the basketball team at his alma mater. I'm not Catholic myself, so I don't have a ton of skin in the game here, but I'm not going to complain about, anyone in power who wants to talk a little ball, anyone with some influence who wants to talk a little hoop. I'm going to live with that. I can be okay with that. I also love the idea that this is the first Pope that listened to Chet Kopic on the radio during pregame of Notre Dame football, or the first Pope that had a deep dish Chicago-style pizza. That personally makes me feel very happy. All right, let's get to a very obviously serious note. Actually, first, I have to bring this up. So Corbin mentions this on the YouTube feed. Says, Mr. Adam Schefter broke the news to me about the new Pope thought it was interesting because that doesn't seem to be Adam's line of work. Dan had the exact same experience. I walked into his office late morning, early afternoon, whenever it was, when this news was announced. The white smoke, they announced who the Pope was. And I said, hey, the Pope's from Chicago. I do not know him, unfortunately. Dan said, yeah, I just found out from a push notification from Adam Schefter. The scoops guys, they get scoops from all over the place. What can I say? But no, I thought that was pretty funny. Dan having the exact same experience a little bit earlier today. Corbin, thanks for hanging out with us. All right, now let's get to the super serious business of sports. And let's get to today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. We will start locally talking about college basketball, a team that lost to KU in the Final Four in 2022, beat KU in 2018 in the Final Four, and in the 2016 Elite Eight, all those on the way to national championships. But that KU team, that was really a stretch. I apologize. But Kansas basketball, let's just jump in right there. We know who they will open the 25-26 college basketball season against. This had been reported in a couple of different places on social media recently, but John Rothstein making it official today. Kansas will open the 2025-2026 season November 3rd against the Phoenix of UW Green Bay. Now, first of all, opening the season on November 3rd is so early. But the reason that UW Green Bay is notable, in case you weren't up on these sorts of things, they went just 4-28 a year ago. 4-28. That was one of the worst records in all of college basketball at the Division I level. In fact, only two schools, Canisius and Mississippi Valley State, had fewer wins. Each of those teams went 3-28 this year. Green Bay is coached by Doug Gottlieb, a man who has been a punching bag in college basketball circles in the last year, and rightfully so, because he's been a part-time head coach. He's still doing his daily radio show and podcast. He was on Radio Row at the Super Bowl while his team was supposed to be preparing for conference games this year. He's a joke. He's a putz. Obviously, Allen Fieldhouse, the site of one of his biggest faux pas when he came out with the shorts on backwards. Remember that, old school KU fans, Big 12 fans? Yeah, that Doug Gottlieb. He is bringing his Phoenix of UW Green Bay to Allen Fieldhouse on November 3rd. This is a worse team than KU usually plays to open a season. However, or, during the early season non-conference games. However, with the net rankings now, and it's more important to just blow teams out than to necessarily play these really tough non-conference games, makes a whole lot of sense. KU's going to win by 20 plus. That's going to be a nice little data point when it comes to the net rankings. And KU's going to embarrass Doug Gottlieb. I think even if you're a Kansas State fan, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe if you're a Cat diehard who just hates all things KU, you feel differently. But I think most people like to make fun of Doug Gottlieb at this point. I certainly do. I will tell you that much. And I think it's going to be very funny to see his team get their butts whooped by KU coming up the first weekend of November. That's me personally, and I'm sure KU fans, you probably feel the same way about that. So we know the first game on the Big 12 schedule for KU this coming season. Continuing on with today's 580 Sports Talk headlines, let's stay in college sports, and we will stay local. A quick note from the MIAA baseball tournament. The headline to us comes from WooSports.com, Washburn Athletics website. Carlgren's complete game sends Ichabod's to MIAA semifinals with 2-1 win over number 15 Gorillas. That's right. Washburn now 27-24 on the year, takes down Pittsburgh State, the number 15 ranked team in the nation, 2-1, and the Ichabods are on to the semifinals of the MIAA tournament. The star of the show, Cooper Carlgren, Topeka's own. You've heard Cooper's name on these airwaves many times before. He's the former quarterback at Washburn Rural, where he was obviously a star baseball player as well. Throws a complete game, 4 hits, 1 run, and the run was unearned. Struck out 7, no walks. Incredible game for Cooper Carlgren today. Goes the distance and helps take down 15th ranked Pittsburgh State. Pitt State, their starting pitcher, now 9-2 on the year, Maddox Thornton. He's a pretty big stud himself, and he gave up 2 runs in the game, and that was enough for Washburn to come away with the victory. Ichabod's were down. The 1 run off of Carlgren came in the 7th inning. Washburn trailed there after the bottom of the 7th, but bounced back with 2 in the top of the 8th to seal the victory. So Washburn continues their season. Season was on the line for the Ichabods. They're not going to get an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament this year to the Central region, but Cooper Carlgren, that big outing today, pushes Washburn on. The RBIs in this game, by the way, Jet Buck and Cash J, the 2 and 3 hitters, shortstop and DH respectively, they both knocked in a run to help propel Washburn to the victory. Shout out to the Ichabods moving on to the Final Four of the MIAA tournament. Also, staying in college sports, this is from Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports as we continue on with today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. Ross Dellinger reports Notre Dame athletic director Pete Bavacqua, a longtime proponent of phasing in roster limits. So the House settlement, getting rosters in college football to 105, no walk-ons, etc. College basketball, limiting the roster at 15, again, no walk-ons, etc. He tells Yahoo Sports that the school, Notre Dame, will honor the roster spot of all current athletes and permit those who were cut this year to return, becoming the first school to fully grandfathering in athletes. So if you haven't been keeping up with this particular storyline, the House settlement, that's the revenue sharing, the roster limits, etc., it is still being talked about. Judge Cynthia Wilkin, she is going through the process of hearing more arguments from lawyers. Billable hours continue to win. More discussions about the final approval or rejection of the House settlement. Her most recent public statement has included saying, we want to phase this in. Players should not lose their spot and be cut because of this. I want approval to include, or my approval will potentially hinge on those athletes getting to keep their spot. And going forward, you just can't add beyond that 105 number. You can keep those athletes for now, and then you just won't necessarily replace some graduated or transferred out players as time goes on. I'm in agreement with that, by the way. I know the settlement was put together not expecting that, and with the idea that they would just go chop, see ya, and a bunch of players, especially priority walk-ons, would get axed. Notre Dame is in the right here, in my opinion. I do not believe that these players should lose their opportunity, whether it's scholarship, walk-on, whatever. I do not believe that they, through no fault of their own, should lose their spot. I think it makes a lot more sense. I think it is the right and just thing to do to allow them to be grandfathered in. And I think that the two sides of this House settlement situation will come to that agreement. House is a name, by the way. It's not like, oh, literally a house. It's someone's name. I think we will get to this point. My hope is that schools like K-State and KU, for example, which have already gone through the process of telling players, hey, we think you should enter the transfer portal. We have to get down to this roster limit number. We want to give you a leg up on some other guys in the portal. Get in early. Go find your new home. I hope that those schools as well are able to bring back some of those players. Now, some of them are going to end up going to other schools for playing time purposes or for whatever reason. It could be any number of things. Dissatisfaction, just wanting to try something new, felt like their space wasn't there, whatever. I hope some, if not all of those athletes, at least the ones who have not committed elsewhere, are able to return from the portal, be grandfathered into the House settlement, and can stay at KU, K-State, or wherever they may have transferred from. Because again, I don't think it's right that those guys are going to lose their opportunity because a bunch of lawyers and diplomats and bureaucrats and whatever told them, yeah, we're going to cut the roster limits here. That's how I feel about the matter. I'm happy for these Notre Dame athletes. I hope the KU and K-State athletes and everybody else as well in Division I are able to keep their spots as well, because that would be brutal. Can you imagine? I know K-State lost a bunch of players, and I've seen obviously the KU ones too. You know, kids from Lawrence, you grow up in Lawrence, you're a fan of KU your whole life, you get to walk onto the program, you're a part of something special, like all college sports teams are. And then you're told, hey, look, a bunch of lawyers and people at the NCAA told us we can't have all these players anymore. We have to get under 105. I'm sorry, but your spot's not going to be there anymore. Soul crushing. And again, KU, K-State, wherever. It would be soul crushing. It'd be miserable to feel that way. So I hope those guys get those opportunities back and get grandfathered in. It seems right. So many times the NCAA does not do right by the athletes, even high-profile ones, let alone guys like walk-ons and guys who are under the radar. So I hope that the NCAA does right here and the powers that be do right by these kids here and allow them to return to their schools so they can finish off their eligibility while they are there. From college football, we move to the NFL, a handful of headlines from around the National Football League today. Did you know there was a Senate hearing about sports broadcasting today? There was. A 25-member committee in the Senate Commerce Committee, held a hearing today, which has, and I should know, this is reporting from USA Today. On Capitol Hill earlier this week, the Senate Commerce Committee, which has jurisdiction over the telecommunications professional sports leagues use to broadcast their games, interviewed representatives from the NBA, MLB, and NHL about the sport's embrace of streaming, which has created a segmented market that is now pricier for consumers. Senator Ted Cruz, the chairman of the committee, senator from Texas, Republican, said, quote, "This is a growing problem. Fans are understandably upset that it's really hard to watch your favorite home team, figure out what app or what network, how to watch it. It's fractured right now. It's expensive right now." Now, notably, the NFL, not in attendance. Roger Goodell did not make an appearance. He has also not given a statement about any of this to USA Today or any other outlet who has asked for a statement about this. Senator Cruz went on to say, quote, "I wish they had come. I think the issues that were discussed apply to them just like they apply to the other leagues that were here." I agree. I'm in an interesting spot with this personally. I do think things are too segmented. I look at the NFL, frankly, as a great example of this. Baseball is another great one. The NFL, if you wanted to watch every single game, how many networks do you need? You need to be able to watch Fox, CBS, NBC to get your basic games on Sunday. There's games now on Netflix. There's games that are just on Amazon. And even if you don't pay for Amazon Prime, you say, hey, NFL Network re-airs the games. Not every cable package or whatever streaming package carries the NFL Network. So you still might not be able to watch those games. We've had games that are exclusively aired on Peacock. We've had games that are exclusively aired on ESPN Plus. So many different places you have to go to be able to watch these games. It is frustrating as a consumer. Oh, where's that game? Oh, it's on Peacock. No, wait, it's on Netflix. No, it's actually on regular TV. That is something frustrating. Baseball's got the same problem. How many times have we had long, drawn-out discussions on this very program about how hard it is for fans to be able to watch their own team? Again, because of the TV provider I have, I do not have an easy way to watch the Kansas City Royals. And YouTube TV, pretty dang popular, especially with people in my age bracket. It's a mess. That being said, I don't know that I personally want the federal government being the ones to step in here and try to fix things. I'm not trying to be partisan about anything here. I'm just saying, generally speaking, and I think most Americans feel this way, you don't want Congress to say, hey, we're going to take over here. Not necessarily the thing we want to hear, even from people who we elected to these positions. Now, this was clearly not a top priority for many people in the Senate Commerce Committee because of the 25 members, 25 senators, 9 showed up for this hearing this week. 9 out of 25, just over a third of them. And according to USA Today, many of them did not even stay for the entire time. They came in, they came out, they had other stuff to do. They didn't stick around for it. Okay. Clearly, this was not of a whole lot of importance to these people. I honestly believe this was more so an opportunity for a handful of senators. And again, I'm not trying to be partisan here. You know me. I'm not trying to do that. A handful of senators to be able to get in front of these leagues and complain because they are sports fans and they just have gripes about it, or because the antitrust exemptions the leagues have, they want to make sure, hey, I'm on to you, but I'll be less on to you if I get to come sit in a suite at a playoff game. I know that's cynical. Again, I'm not trying to be political about it, but that's sort of how this one comes off. I don't know what the answer is. I hope there is an answer at some point. This is worse than cable. I'm just putting that out there right now. This is worse than cable, which obviously gets way too expensive for the average consumer. I get that. Oh, trust me, I get that. We paused our YouTube TV at the end of the month because it's too expensive. And If I'm not watching football and baseball, I watch my team on MLB TV. I don't need to have cable right now. But that's me. I'm stepping away from it because I feel like, God, it's so segmented. It's too much. It's too expensive. I get that part of it. But just the fact that you have to go to so many different places to watch games, oh my gosh. I do not think I am alone. I feel like we have seen response on the text line, on the YouTube chat, wherever, over time, today, whenever it might be. It is too hard to watch these games. I think it is going to be a major problem for the NFL. I think putting games on Christmas and Black Friday and having them on so many different streaming networks along with the regular channels, I think it is a problem, personally. I don't know if Congress and the Senate, if those are the right places to fix it, but it is a problem. Unfortunately, only a handful of senators seem to actually care, since barely a third of them even went to this hearing. Also notable, the NFL wasn't there because the NFL's got more pull than any of those other leagues, no matter how important MLB, NBA, NHL think that they might be. A couple of other quick hitters from the NFL today on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Tyreek Hill had surgery today. It was a scheduled surgery, part of a recovery plan going into the offseason. This was already known about. He had a couple of screws removed from his wrist. He does expect to be ready for training camp. I'm sure Tyreek Hill was not crushed to find out, oh, I'm not going to be able to do OTAs or minicamp. Oh, darn. I'm sure he's okay with that. I'm a little surprised the Dolphins didn't trade him this offseason because of the antics at the end of the year, kind of saying he wasn't going to come back and doing his thing on social media, and then he took it all back. I'm a little surprised they didn't try to move on from him. Then again, maybe they did, and there were no takers. As we know, it takes two to tango. A couple other notes from around the league, too. In fact, from the Carolina Panthers, they had to place running back Jonathan Brooks, former Texas Longhorn. Sure, you have heard that name plenty of times from his days in Burnt Orange. Had to place him on the PUP list already, the physically unable to perform list. That ends his season when it happens this early. He has torn his ACL or an ACL in each of the last 2 years. Feel terrible for the guy. Also for me, because he's on my Dynasty Fantasy team. I know you don't care, but personal note there. Just feel terrible for him. Hope he can make a full recovery and be good to go for 2026 after essentially losing 2 full seasons. Only played a couple of weeks last year before tearing the ACL again. The Panthers also cut defensive end Jadeveon Clowney today, according to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. That saves them just under $8 million against the cap, $7.78 million to be exact. He's owed $2 million guaranteed. There's also a $6 million dead cap hit. Carolina, they're rebuilding. They clearly don't care about that. I can understand that. They also drafted multiple edge rushers in the first 2 days of the draft. Makes plenty of sense to me. I think Clowney is an interesting case. Jadeveon Clowney obviously was at South Carolina. He was a gigantic prospect. If you weren't following it at the time, and I was really into recruiting. I was also really into South Carolina football at the time. He was a massive prospect at the time, coming out of Rock Hill, South Carolina, goes to the Southeastern USC. And I know a lot of people say all the hype, he was overhyped all because of that one play against Michigan in the bowl game. That is not true. He was the unanimous first-team All-American, multiple-time SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He was one of the best defensive players in college football in the 2010s decade. He really, really was. He was that good. He just happened to have that one highlight that has still been played everywhere since then. That's not the only reason he had hype. The reason he has never quite taken off, he did have 3 Pro Bowl seasons and a second-team All-Pro when he was in Houston on his first contract, but the reason he never quite took off, he had microfracture surgery on his knee. That injury has destroyed a lot of careers. So instead of being a legend, a Hall of Famer, he's just been a very good rotational guy for his career. He's always been elite defending the edge, a decent pass rusher. I think he's kind of a better Frank Clark, to be honest with you. He's bounced around to more teams. I can tell you that much. He's going to be on another team here after spending just 1 season in Carolina. I don't think he makes sense to the Chiefs, even his depth. That one doesn't really click for me. I do think there will be some teams that are interested in the services of Jadeveon Clowney, however, at some point. All right, that's going to wrap up the main section of our 580 Sports Talk headlines. So before we get out to our first commercial break, why don't we get you a quick edition of the playoff roundup?
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk playoff roundup.
Thank you for that, Spencer. All right, Dan told you a little bit earlier on today when we opened the show following the Royals game. Bozos is the theme of the playoff roundup for today. We will start in the NHL. The Leafs, They have taken a 2-0 lead on Florida after a win yesterday. We know about their playoff woes, but maybe they are turning a corner. We'll find out. Dallas also beat Winnipeg behind a hat trick from Mikko Rantanen. He has a hat trick in each of the last 2 games. Dallas up 1-0 on Winnipeg in the West. Canes versus Capitals, Oilers versus Knights tonight. No comment from Spencer today. He was off from the show. I know he said the vibes were low the other day after the Capitals lost. We'll see if they can bounce back, even their series with the Hurricanes and Oilers Knights as well. Oilers, I believe, came away with the win in game 1 of that series. From the NBA, the Boston Celtics. You want to talk about bozo mode? I did not see the entirety of the game last night, but I had it on for good with about 8 minutes left, and they led 84-70 and then lost at home. Unbelievable, inexplicable loss for Boston last night. They now have to go on the road trailing 2-0. The Thunder, however, they clobbered the Nuggets, beat them by 1 billion last night. Dan, obviously the big Nuggets fan here, he was expecting a loss in the first 2 games. He thought it was going to be the first game, and then they'd bounce back in the second. I thought the opposite. I thought they would ride adrenaline, win game 1, lose game 2. Turned out I was right, but we were both right. That series would be 1-1 through its first 2 games. Just 1 game on tonight. It is the Timberwolves taking on the Golden State Warriors, game 3 of that series. And the Warriors are not going to have Steph Curry, or excuse me, is this game 2 of that series? But Steph Curry, he is out due to a low-grade hamstring strain. He will continue to be checked out by the Warriors staff. It's game 2, in Minnesota tonight. Warriors up 1-0 in that series so far. That does it for the playoff roundup and today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, Mark Schlabach of ESPN has put out his way too early college football top 25. 5 Big 12 teams are in the poll. Where do they rank? Who are they? And does that group include either team from the Sunflower State? We'll tell you right after this on 580 Sports Talk. 5:35 on 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski flying solo with you here up until the top of the 6 o'clock hour today. Royals baseball already in the books for this evening. Played the day game, getaway day against the Chicago White Sox. Finished off a sweep with a big 10-0 win. We'll get some final thoughts on that game coming up here in just a little bit. Still thinking about that story from USA Today about the Senate Commerce Committee hearing with the major sports leagues, sans the NFL, about the ability to watch games for fans, and does there need to be something done with that? We mentioned Senator Ted Cruz, who we know is a huge sports fan. He did mention in a quote to USA Today, he thought that this meeting was about being informational and fact-finding, and he says he thinks that things he was pleased with the way things went. However, there was also some nonsense going on during all of this. One senator from Missouri, Eric Schmidt, said that his experience with this comes from not being able to watch St. Louis Cardinals games. That, at least is relatable. Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, she used 5 minutes of questioning to ask about a tweet from Daryl Morey, the longtime executive in the NBA, about Hong Kong freedom, which came out 6 years ago, and also asked about the value of broadcast rights in China. I'm not really sure what that has to do with anything. Amy Klobuchar, a senator from Minnesota, was explicitly asking about the value of WNBA rights. Again, important to some degree, but definitely not what the point was in this entire hearing. So again, I'm not trying to be partisan. I'm not trying to be political. You do not need to hear from me to determine your opinions on any of that. I think that goes for anybody, any Joe on the street, not just me behind the microphone. But if you're going to hold this hearing, maybe let's actually talk about the issue at hand. It's a valuable issue to some degree. I'm not sure if it's a congressional thing. It's handled by the leagues, locally, whatever. I'm just not 100% sure that this was the best use of time, at least for some of the elected representatives in the United States Senate. But again, that's just me. And if the NFL is not even going to show up, I have a hard time thinking they're going to get anything done in the near future anyway. But from the NFL to college football, let's get to Mark Schlabach of ESPN. He came out with a top 25 way too early poll post-spring practice and through a good portion of the spring portal window. The portal remains open for guys already in it. New guys can't jump into it. Most rosters are set to this point. K-State's pretty much done finding guys. We know KU is looking around, trying to probably find a backup tight end, maybe some more depth elsewhere. But for the most part, rosters are set now with spring practice in the books. So here's the top 10 from Mark Schlabach of ESPN, who's covered college sports and college football for a long time. He's got Penn State number 1. Good luck. Look, I like James Franklin enough, but and they made the playoff this past year. I'm not a believer in Drew Aller. I'm not really a believer in the infrastructure at Penn State. They've added some good players through the transfer portal. They've got the best running back room in the country coming back in Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. They added a really good wide receiver in Trevor Pena. They had no wide receiver talent otherwise. Their wide receivers did not catch a single pass in the Orange Bowl. None. No receiver, designated wide receiver, had a catch in the Orange Bowl against Notre Dame. Yeah, we'll see about that. Number 2, he's got Clemson. They've got a ton of players coming back. Texas, 3rd. Obviously, do you believe in Arch Manning? If you do, okay, that's fine. If you don't, oh dear. They also obviously lost a lot of talent to the NFL draft. Georgia comes in 4th. We'll see about that. Ohio State, number 5. LSU comes in 6th. They've got a returning quarterback as well in Garrett Nussmeier. A lot of folks like him for next year's NFL draft. Notre Dame slots in 7th. They've probably got the best individual running back in the country, Jeremiah Love, returning. Oregon, 8th. The Alabama Crimson Tide, 9th. Going to be a new quarterback situation there with Jalen Milroe moving on to the NFL. Not sure exactly who that's going to be. Might be Ty Simpson, who was with Kalen DeBoer at Washington before DeBoer went to Alabama, and Simpson followed him in the portal. And number 10, the BYU Cougars, led by returning quarterback, old veteran Jake Retzlaff, running back LJ Martin, wide receiver Chase Roberts. That should be a pretty good team. They've added a number of players through the transfer portal as well, some decent talent there. So BYU slots in number 10. I don't know if I'm quite that bullish on BYU, but they should still be pretty good after having a good season this past year. We like Kalani Sitake a lot on this program. That has been put on the record many, many times. So BYU is the highest ranked Big 12 team in Mark Schlabach's early, way too early ranking. They're one of 5 from the Big 12. The others include Arizona State at 12, Iowa State 14, Texas Tech and its ridiculous portal class 16. A lot of money being thrown around by billionaire Cody Campbell down there in West Texas. And Kansas State slots in 18th in the way too early poll. The write-up from Mark Schlabach about Kansas State, which comes in just behind Indiana, which has one of the biggest quarterback transfers in the country, Fernando Mendoza. Some folks think he might be the number 1 pick next year, and right ahead of the Florida Gators. The write-up here, Avery Johnson is ready to take the next step as a passer, and Kansas State coach Chris Kleiman says he's much more confident and efficient heading into his second season as a starter and first under new offensive coordinator Matt Wells. Wells obviously calling the shots now for K-State. Dylan Edwards is ready to emerge as the number 1 tailback after DJ Giddens departed, and the Wildcats also added this year through the portal wide receiver Jaron Bradley from Boston College, as well as wide receiver Jaron Tibbs from Purdue and Caleb Medford from New Mexico to help out with Jace Brown at wide receiver. 3 starters have to be replaced on the offensive line. Leading tacklers Austin Romaine and VJ Payne return. However, the Wildcats did lose top edge rusher Brendan Mott. There's plenty of returning talent, though, with defensive tackle Damian Ilalio and Cody Stufflebean, plus defensive end Toby Osunanmi and Chidi Obiazor. I botched both of those names. I'm sorry, guys. I'm out of practice for college football. Kansas State opens against Iowa State in Ireland and then plays Army at home. You do not want to play Army at the start of the season. I will tell you that much. K-State should win, but you do not want to play Army at the start of the season. And let me tell you, especially off of a week earlier playing a game over in Ireland, that feels like a trap game. I think this is pretty fair for Kansas State, to be honest. If you ask me where do I think they would finish, I think the ceiling is a lot higher. I think K-State, I would say, has an outside chance of being a top 10 team this year. I think the like reach goal, the accelerated goal for K-State every year, I think should be the college football playoff. This is a team that should stay in the rankings all year. That's a tough start to the season. Farmageddon overseas. Shout out. I'm not going to make a potato famine joke. That seems in bad taste. But Army early in the year, that is never easy, even if you get them at home. Not the easiest schedule in the world for K-State. I think this is fair. I think the ceiling for the Cats this year, though, is top 10. I do. And it should be every year for this program. We know what they're made of. We know who the coach is. We know what kind of talent they've got right now. But I think this is fair to start the season. In terms of the other Big 12 teams in the poll, BYU may be a little rich for my blood. Arizona State is as well. And look, I know you have heard me say for a year now how much I love Kenny Dillingham, the head coach at Arizona State. Think he's a stud. He's an ASU guy. Hope for their sake he's there forever. Love him. They bring back their starting quarterback in Sam Leavitt. Jordan Tyson at wide receiver is back. They've had a solid transfer class as well, including a guy from Army, in fact. Running back Kanye Udo, wide receiver Jaron Hamilton from Alabama. They've added a ton of high major talent through the portal. I think some regression is coming for Arizona State. They're a fun story, fun program, great head coach, fun quarterback in Sam Leavitt, all of that. I do think some regression is going to come for that team. I don't think that's a playoff team this year, for example. If you told me end of the season, we'd see K-State at 12 and Arizona State at 18, I would not be surprised. I also wouldn't be completely surprised if Arizona State slid even farther than that, maybe on the fringe of the top 25, maybe out of the top 25 at some point. But Kenny Dillingham proved a lot of people wrong last season. Would I be shocked if he proves me wrong this year? No, I would not be. If you're a KU fan and saying there's some disrespect here, I don't think I necessarily agree with that. Probably justifiable. KU is out. I mean, KU went 5-7 last year and loses its best player. Arguably, its 2 best players, you could argue maybe 3 of its best players. Jalen Daniels is obviously a stud when he's healthy. The question is if he's going to be healthy and consistent. Bryce Cabledew was a mainstay for a long time on the line. Kobe Bryant was 3 years in a row, first team all Big 12. And Devin Neal is one of the best and most important players in KU history and the team's all-time leading rusher. Hard to replace that, even if you like the guys that are coming back. The change of defensive coordinator with DK McDonald coming in, that is significant, obviously. it's right for KU to not be ranked right now. Could KU be ranked at some point? Oh, yeah, there's a very easy path. There's a lot of hype for this wide receiver room, and I think rightfully so. The defense, I think, is going to be better in the linebacker room than it's been since Lance Leipold's been here. Honestly, since long before Lance Leipold has been in Lawrence. I think there's a lot of potential for the defense. I think the offense could be one of the best in the country. Love Jim Zebrowski. Jim Zebrowski is a stud. Excited he's back calling plays. Matt Lubick back in the fold as well as co-OC. I like the potential for KU, but yeah, does not belong in the top 25 to start the year. Not even an official top 25 at that. We owe you another timeout. Well, you've got some bills to pay, but when we come back on the other side of this break, some final thoughts on the Royals finishing up a sweep over the Chicago White Sox earlier today. That's coming up after this on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon. Dave Ramsey coming up. I see Dave outside the studio right now pounding on the door, telling me not to buy a boat while I'm trying to pay off a car. I'm not going to listen, though. I am going to buy a boat. Well, we've got Dave Ramsey coming up top of the hour. Full show, full crew tomorrow with you, myself, Dan, and Spencer from 3 until 6 tomorrow afternoon. Matt Derrick is going to join us. Plenty of Royals baseball to get to as well. That's coming up tomorrow at 3 o'clock here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. But wanted to get some final thoughts here on the Royals win today. They massacred the White Sox. 10-0 your final score. The Royals have now won 15 of their last 17 games. They are on a heater. They complete the 4-game sweep. 4-game sweeps are hard, man. I don't care if it's the White Sox, the Rockies, the Iowa Cubs. I don't care who it is. You sweep a team in 4 games, that is quite an accomplishment, especially if you win one of the games 10-0. Not a super high-scoring series going into this game today. Royals won 3-0, 4-3, 2-1, and then poured it on with 10 runs today. So that's 6 overall, and again, 15 of the last 17 won for Kansas City. And look, the White Sox suck. Like, there's no need to sugarcoat it. There's no need to use any flowery language to beat around the bush. The White Sox are absolutely putrid. And the Royals did today what they should be doing, and that is just crush them. Leave no doubt and just beat the ever-loving you-know-what out of this team. The Royals today had 11 batted balls that qualified as a hard hit. We've used this stat before. I love to bring it up because I think it's a really good reflection of the Royals' approach at the plate. But StatCast measures the velocity off the bat, right? The exit velo. And I know some people have their eyes roll back in their head when they hear it. But anything that's off the bat, 95 miles an hour or faster, harder, that's considered a hard hit for stat keeping purposes. Well, the Royals today had 11 of them. And of those 11, 10 were hit 100 miles an hour or faster off the bat. Royals didn't hit a home run in the game today, but they did just slug all over the yard. Bobby Witt Jr. hit a double that would have been a home run in 16 parks. Michael Garcia hit a triple in the 5th inning that would have been a home run in 19 different parks. That's playing at the K. That happens sometimes. But just crushing it. 107, 106, 106, 105, 103.6 off the bat. Royals just smoking some really awful pitchers for the White Sox. Again, I'm not going to beat around the bush. This is a bad team with bad talent or no talent whatsoever to speak of in general. And the Royals did what good teams should do against bad teams. That is blow them out. That is take the series. Take 4 games in a row against them. So the offensive approach has been good. We gave the stat a little bit earlier. The Royals right now are the best team in baseball at avoiding swing and miss at the plate. That's a big deal, guys. If you're going up there and you're not giving away strikes, you're not giving away outs, that is a really big deal, especially for a team that has had moments this year where it has struggled offensively. And when you've got that good approach at the plate, you don't swing at junk, you don't miss when you do swing, and when you make contact, you crush the baseball, ripping the seams out of the ball, knocking the leather off of it. Yeah, you're going to end up getting some positive results. That's what happened to the Royals offensively today. We've also got to talk about Kris Bubic because we're beyond Bubic being good. We have entered Kris Bubic's pitching like an all-star, if not better, territory this year. Today, 6 hits scattered over 7 innings, only walked 1 batter. That's a whip, walks and hits per innings pitched of exactly 1. That's a great number there. 7 strikeouts, no home runs, no earned runs, no runs allowed, period. His ERA has trickled down to 1.69. That is top 4 in the American League, top 10 in all of Major League Baseball. I don't know that Kris Bubic can keep this up over the entire duration of the season. I don't think he will. I would love it if he does. If the Royals have 2 aces plus like a half an ace in Seth Lugo, well, yeah, I mean, this team should be contending for a World Series if you've got starting pitching like that. But his fastball has been really good. His breaking balls have all been incredible so far this year. He's not allowing hard contact. He's getting guys to chase bad pitches out of the zone. It has been stellar. It has been absolutely great. And that's doing it without having an elite velocity fastball. Average fastball is 92.2. That's not great. That's not elite. That's not crazy. But it's working. And again, if you're going to get this out of the guy who started the year as what, your 5th starter technically, I thought you should keep him in the bullpen because of how good he was at the end of last year. But something has started to work with Bubic and this Royals pitching lab. We remember 2023, he looked really good for 3 starts before having Tommy John. Last year comes back, he was great out of the bullpen. Now he has been damn near unhittable as a starting pitcher. All of a sudden, you've got Reagans as an ace. Bubic, for now, is pitching like an ace. Lugo's been very good. You know what you're getting from Waka, and it's good. And Michael Lorenzen's been pitching some of his best baseball of the year over the last 2 weeks. That is division championship caliber stuff from the Royals starting rotation, in no small part due to what Kris Bubic is doing right now, like embarrassing the Chicago White Sox. One more commercial break to get to, then we'll wrap up this shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk post-Royals baseball with a final word. Wrapping up a shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk before we pass things off to Dave Ramsey here in just a moment. A couple quick thoughts for you. Number one, we were just talking about it. Chris Bubich is pitching like an ace right now. He's pitching like an all-star. The Royals as a unit are playing like all-stars right now. We know Witt is great. We know that a handful of these starting pitchers can be great. But when you've got guys like Vinny Pasquantino locking in and figuring it out, Jonathan India has started to play like we hoped he would play at the start of the year, making things so much easier for the rest of the lineup from that leadoff spot. Salvi's doing his thing. You're getting contributions from all over the place. Drew Waters has been great as of late, as has Michael Garcia. When you're playing like that, I know you're beating up on the White Sox now, but that kind of talent and that kind of hot streak, you can beat anybody, and we'll find out if they can continue that against the Boston Red Sox starting tomorrow. And one more time, happy birthday, WIBW Radio, 98 years of the sports voice of Kansas as of today. So happy birthday to the big stick, 580 WIBW. We are back tomorrow, full show. Matt and Derek will join us. We'll preview the Royals weekend and a whole lot more. Dan Lucero will be back. So will Spencer Dupuis. Until then, this is Brendan Brzezinski saying so long from Huntoon Hill. You've been listening to 580 Sports Talk.